What if you woke up tomorrow and the air you breathe had changed forever? Not because it vanished, no, quite the opposite. Imagine that overnight the amount of oxygen in Earth's atmosphere doubled, from the current 21% to a staggering 42%. At first glance, that might sound like a dream. More oxygen? Who wouldn't want that? Better workouts, sharper thinking, cleaner breathing. But reality doesn't work like that. Nature thrives on balance, and tipping that balance, even with something as vital as oxygen, can have explosive consequences. Let's start with how you'd feel. You'd probably notice the difference right away. Taking a breath would feel easier, lighter. Oxygen is what fuels every cell in your body. With double the amount, your blood would become saturated more quickly, your muscles would perform better, and endurance would spike. Athletes would smash records, altitude sickness in mountain climbers, practically gone. You might even sleep better for a little while. But the human body is not designed for long-term exposure to such high oxygen levels. Breathing elevated oxygen over time causes oxygen toxicity. It's something scuba divers have to be trained for because too much oxygen can cause dizziness, nausea, and in extreme cases, seizures and lung damage. Our lungs evolved to handle 21% oxygen, not 42%. So while we might feel supercharged at first, over time, the damage would start to show. Brain cells are especially vulnerable to oxidative stress, and your nervous system could begin to suffer. But humans aren't the only species that would be affected. Insects, for instance, would thrive in a high oxygen world. Why? Because insects don't have lungs. They absorb oxygen through small holes in their exoskeletons called spiracles. In today's atmosphere, this limits their size. But millions of years ago, during the Carboniferous period, when atmospheric oxygen levels were higher, around 35%, dragonflies the size of hawks soared through ancient forests. With 42% oxygen, we might see a return of these massive bugs. Insects, arthropods, and even some amphibians would grow larger. Evolution would begin favoring creatures that could take advantage of this new oxygen-rich environment. It would be a paradise for some species and a death sentence for others. And what about plants? You'd think they'd love it, right? More oxygen must be good for photosynthesis? Actually, no. Plants need carbon dioxide to photosynthesize. Doubling oxygen doesn't help them grow. It might even stress them out. Some species would adapt, but others could wither. The fine balance of ecosystems that evolved over millions of years would start to fall apart. Invasive species could dominate. Fragile ones could disappear. Entire food chains would shift, destabilizing forests, oceans, and grasslands. But the most dramatic changes wouldn't come from biology. They'd come from chemistry. Oxygen feeds fire. With double the amount in the air, everything flammable becomes more dangerous. A campfire wouldn't just burn, it would roar. A dropped match could ignite entire forests. Sparks from lightning would be far more likely to cause wildfires, and once a fire starts, it would spread rapidly, fueled by this ultra-flammable atmosphere. Firefighters would face blazes hotter, faster, and harder to control than anything we've known before. And that's not all. Even small household fires could become uncontrollable. A candle left unattended, an electrical short, even the friction from an overheated wire. Any of these could escalate into deadly infernos. Cities would need to redesign entire infrastructures to prevent constant outbreaks. Fire suppression systems would need a complete overhaul. Fire-resistant materials would become the new global standard. The cost? Billions. Meanwhile, lightning storms would intensify. That's because more oxygen in the upper atmosphere leads to more ozone production. Ozone is made of 3 oxygen atoms and plays a key role in blocking UV radiation. But in excessive amounts, it becomes unstable and highly reactive. Thunderstorms would be charged with more energy, with lightning strikes more frequent and more powerful. Entire regions could experience blackouts or electrical surges from increasingly volatile weather. Even Earth's oceans wouldn't be safe. As oxygen levels rise in the atmosphere, it shifts the delicate equilibrium of gas exchange with the oceans. More oxygen dissolving into seawater could disrupt marine ecosystems, especially those that rely on stable oxygen gradients. Meanwhile, the breakdown of ozone in the upper atmosphere might alter temperature distributions and jet stream patterns, leading to unpredictable climate effects. From rising storm intensity to sudden cold snaps or heat waves, weather as we know it would become harder to predict and harder to survive. And if you're thinking humans could just adapt, maybe we could. Over thousands of years. Evolution might favor those with stronger lungs, better antioxidant defenses, or altered metabolisms. But those changes would come with a cost. Societies would have to endure decades of medical, ecological, and social crises before any benefits of adaptation could appear. In the end, doubling the oxygen in Earth's atmosphere would give us a brief moment of euphoria, followed by a cascade of fires, storms, mutations, and ecological collapse. Life depends on oxygen, but only in the right amount, because even something essential and can become deadly when the balance is broken. So, next time you take a breath, remember, it's not just about having enough air, it's about having the right kind.